Hey guys, welcome back to Making Waves. Again, my name is Jonathan. I use he, him, his pronouns.
I'm Andi. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Dianna. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Andreea. I use she, her, hers pronouns.
Cool. And today's topic is going to be on cultural appropriation. Yes. So according to dictionary.com. I don't even know. Yeah, I think this is where I got it from. It says the cultural appropriation is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, ideas, etc. of one people or society by members of another and typically more dominant people or society. So, I guess with cultural appropriation, what do you guys think of like that concept or idea in the first place? Because I know it's like such a big topic, like nowadays.
Or like, what are your like first-hand emotions? Like when you hear that word, like how do you feel?
I guess it's not really like emotions. It's more of like the first thing that pops in the head is like someone blackfacing for like Halloween or something, you know? Like that's like really extreme. That's not really even appropriation. That's just like straight up being racist.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's like there's usually like every media cycle or like once a month there's always one person getting in big trouble with like cultural appropriation, and I feel kind of like desensitized to it now. Like I'm just like, of course someone did something, I just kind of move on.
Mm-hmm.
But
does anyone have like experiences or people they know that like sometimes they cross that border of cultural appropriation, or like, I guess, yeah, have seen someone?
I don't think my dad knows how to use YouTube, so it'll be fine. My dad, so I'm half adopted, so my dad's white, and before we moved into the house, I already had a bunch of Asian stuff in it. So, like, my mom's just like, why is there a Buddha? No one here is Buddhist. And, like, just, like, random stuff like that. And, like, it's not a conversation I'm willing to have with him right now, because, like, he's old and a boomer. Sorry, Dad. And then, and so it'd just be kind of like, yeah, so it would just be kind of like a difficult conversation to be like, hey, like, it's not cool to have all these random, like, I think it's Chinese things in the background, or like decorations on the wall. Yeah, I don't want to cause another argument or fight, but definitely it's not even like more of like, it's not even like me getting like angry about cultural appropriation. I'm just cringing. Like, I'm just cringing a lot when I see it.
Have you guys seen that one like meme that circulates the internet with like that one like anime character, and he's like looking at like a butterfly and he's like,
oh, yeah,
a pigeon?
Yeah.
That's like sometimes how I feel about like when people like do cultural appropriation. They're just like, is this Chinese? Like, is this exotic or whatever? And it kind of reminds me of like something recent I saw. I think Casey Musgraves wore like Vietnamese like ao dai to one of her concerts, but she wore the piece without pants, and she also wore it with like I don't remember what culture, but a certain headpiece that wasn't Vietnamese. So she was just like mishmashing like cultures in like an attempt to like look exotic, and that kind of just like reminded me of the meme where she's just like, is this Asian? And I was like,
this is kind of like I don't know, like it's like definitely a hot button issue, and I feel like I got like, at least when I was a freshman here, a lot of people got more mad about it, but I think it's kind of like the same experience of like getting desensitized. But yeah, I did see that too, like going around on social media. It was just cringy.
yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
So I guess the next thing would be like, how would you define that line between that crosses cultural appropriation?
Like with appreciation then?
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't know. I feel like I don't know, like if I'm the person who'd be like I'm the one who says where the line is going to be crossed, or I know where the line is for me. Like, especially like when it comes to like Vietnamese, like, you know, like with the Vietnamese dress, like I'm not like super like, you know, Vietnamese, like I have it like the dress doesn't have like a lot of like, it wasn't like super like prevalent in like for me growing up, or it wasn't like super like important to me, I guess is like the best way to put it, or it wasn't super symbolic for me. Yeah. So then I felt like it's not like for me to say like if that's right or wrong to be like used, you know, like, but I'll support someone else who who doesn't like it being used that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I hope that makes sense.
I feel like because today there's a lot more cultural awareness and people starting to like accept more cultures and diversity, and there's a lot of cultures out there, like how it was mentioned in our podcast beforehand, how there's like people can adopt other cultures as well, as in like if you're multiracial or you grew up with two different cultures, you can make your own kind of culture by taking pieces of the cultures you grew up with and calling them as your own. I think that a lot of people who are trying to like appreciate cultures don't necessarily know if they're appropriating or appreciating, because again, there's so many cultures out there now that, and people are trying to be more accepting, that sometimes they can get a little too excited, or they can, I guess, want to learn more about the culture so much in that they take on too much. But I had another thing that I wanted to say, but I don't remember what it was.
Was it the thing in Japan?
Oh, I don't know what, I don't know, but
I hope it triggered some memory, something, like something will bring up.
So, like, one good example, I like to watch a lot of documentaries on YouTube and like just online, and there's Vice. And I know, like, people have their opinions about Vice. Some things are good, some things are not. But when their documentaries were good, they had this one about Japanese women in Japan taking on the culture of Chicana women.
Oh, I've seen this one, actually.
And behaving as if they're Chicana, but even to the point where they talk like them and they dress like them and they do their hair like them and everything. Like, their behavior changes. And they say because they feel like the culture around Chicana women and the way that they behave, their behavior and their values empowers them in order for them to be powerful women. But again, that's at the point where, is this appropriation or is this appreciation? Because they're literally like almost changing their whole identity and taking on the look of a person that they're not. So it's discussed in the video too, like even the reporter, she's not sure, and she even brings up with the Japanese woman, don't you think that this is more appropriating than appreciating? And I think people in the U.S. are more aware of cultural appropriation than anywhere else in the world, just because the U.S. is more mixed, diverse, with the different cultures. But then again, there's also like the extreme where if you've seen, I don't know if it was Bad Baby, but it was someone else was wearing, or I think it was just a random white girl had braids, like all on her scalp, and there were lots of comments of people saying that they hate and like, oh, like she shouldn't be wearing these braids, she's appropriating. But there were a lot of comments from a lot of African American females that were saying, no, she looks fine. Like, the braids look good on her. She actually looks good with the braids. I don't care that she has the braids. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like it when other cultures take on like the hairstyle of African Americans. But I have also seen that extreme where there's, not extreme, but I guess that group of people where they don't care if someone else is just like wearing a hairstyle that one particular group of people usually wears, because they're like, oh, it's just a hairstyle and it looks good on them. So I don't know, I guess it depends on the person. It depends on their views and what they think. But I don't think there's like an actual like definitive line. It's subjective to each person.
Yeah, I found that when I was watching that video, I found it pretty interesting because after it showed like all of its like viewpoints with like how the Japanese women and like what they say about it, they also went to like the Latino community back in here in the US, and what they asked them what they thought of like the Japanese doing this, and I forgot specifically what they said, but like I don't remember if they were against it or not, but like I just find it very interesting how like the definitive line again, like where would you define like how, when it would be appropriating and appreciation.
Yeah, like when I was listening to you talk about that, it just like made me think about like how the white lady who had, like you said, the braids, right? Like it just like reminded me how like she has like the privilege to like kind of pick and choose which parts of that culture that she wants to like put on herself and like participate in without like truly understanding what it means to actually have that identity. Or like even just like closer to home, like in the United States, like people who like do cultural appropriation here, like they like may pick and choose like pieces of that culture without having to actually have the experiences of those people within like a predominantly white society. So I guess like that like flip thing kind of made sense to me, where you said like a lot of times like Black people are discriminated against for their natural hair, and then they do things to like become better accepted into a predominantly white and racist society. So it's like they're not picking and choosing experiences that like they're like picking and choosing things that like make it more fair for them, unfortunately.
I guess to give us a little bit of a better perspective on it, I have a couple of examples we can go over and talk about. So this first one was actually a story that came out like 2 years ago that was big on social media. But so yeah, this girl decides to wear a Chinese dress to her prom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember this story.
Yes, that like blew up all
Yeah,
over
how it
social
blew
media.
up on social media.
Yeah.
I don't remember the story too much, so don't quote me, but I think her reasoning for it was something like I just thought it was cute, and so I decided to wear it to prom. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's weird because like it is like objectively like a beautiful dress, and I like totally understand why anybody else would see it that way. But I think it's just that thing again where like she is like picking and choosing like parts of a culture that she deems aesthetic, and she's just like wearing them without like truly understanding what it means to identify as that person in the context of like our society and like all the systems of oppression at play. So like I don't even know how I feel about it, because it's like it's flattering that like of course you would think that's a beautiful dress because it is, but it's like there's so much more context to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfair to be able to pick and choose.
What are they doing in that group photo? Are they doing like the?
It looks like they're just. Oh yeah.
Are they doing the like weird?
Oh yeah, they are. What is that? They're doing I guess.
Yeah, they're
prayer.
doing like
Is this like? I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you doing anyway?
A prayer pose.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was. I don't know. I feel like it's like. I mean. So my aunt got married to a white dude, and then they had two weddings. They had like a Vietnamese wedding and then like a traditional Vietnamese wedding. Then they had like a more Western one, and he wore the traditional Vietnamese like groom's outfit, and like my grandma pointed and laughed because he looked so funny in it, and it was, I don't know, this is kind of just like, and I feel like that's fine because like he's getting married to like a Vietnamese, you know what I mean, Vietnamese woman, but like is her date some white dude?
Yeah.
But like I don't know, it's, I mean, like I'm not trying to like try to promote like cancel culture, because I feel like cultural appropriation can like lead to that, you know what I mean, like this person should be canceled for the rest of their life because they did this one thing. But I don't know, it's just kind of like a really like, I just wonder like why, I don't know, I feel like I just don't know, like out of all the prom dresses, like even like for me, I'm not Chinese, but like I wouldn't have picked that, I don't know. But like it is pretty, but I just wonder why. But
do you guys know the specific meaning or reason like that traditional outfit has been used, that Chinese outfit? Do you guys know, or what they're traditionally used for?
I mean, I did grow up wearing it, but I don't think my mom or like my parents ever did too good of a job of like telling me what it actually means. But I just know that we always wore it on Chinese New Year's or Lunar New Year's, because it just like symbolized like just like everything's like clean and fresh and like new, and it was just like really special to be able to wear that like on New Year's. Yeah.
I think it's more like a special events kind of dress, like how the kimono for Japanese culture is used for like weddings and for New Year's and for festivals and things like that, and celebrations.
So I guess going off of that, then, do you think it would be appropriate then for her to wear something like that to like a like Chinese New Year's or event, or like a formal event like that? Would it then be appropriate, do you think?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Depends what her intentions are, I think.
I don't know, from like, in like this is like probably maybe assuming like way too much from like the whole situation, but it seems like she just kind of wanted to stand out of all the prom dresses.
True,
you know what I
true.
mean? Like at least like it looked like she's like, I just want to look different than all the other prom dresses. It feels
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, yeah, it's really pretty, but like it's not made to make you like look like
Right.
different or better, like different than
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
else, or try to make something trendy. But
But like if there was a Chinese New Year celebration, would it be appropriate for her to wear some kind of Chinese traditional clothing to the celebration?
Yeah, with her intention to like
Yeah.
attend that with that dress. You think,
I think
would be
it's just,
appropriate
like,
then?
context matters. It's
Yeah.
like so hard to like find that line without like applying context to it first. I feel like there's no like this is the ruler of like
Yeah.
culture appropriation versus appreciation and you can stick it anywhere and it'll apply. I feel like it's always like contextual.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it reminds me of like that lunch thing where like you'd bring like your like Chinese food or your Vietnamese food or like Filipino food or whatever to lunch, and then kids would be like, ew, like what's that? Like that smells gross or whatever. And then nowadays it's like if I like wore like a cheongsam, like that traditional like Chinese dress to school like as a kid, I feel like I would have been made fun of, like, oh, like where's that from? Like go back to China, like all that stuff. But like when she wears it, apparently it's like just a cool dress. It's like a weird pick and
Yeah.
choose thing
Mhm.
again.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if with like if I wore that to prom, you know what I mean? I feel like I would get teased for being like too Asian.
Yeah.
like you know, like
Yeah,
if
people
it
People
was
would be like,
person.
oh, it makes sense because you're Asian. That's why
Yeah,
you're
it's
wearing
like if I
Ah.
wore that to prom as an Asian person, like, what would be the reaction that I would get? People are just like, why is she so Asian?
like she's being really Asian right now.
It's
Like,
like too much Asian.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to our next example, we have the singers. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Saweetie.
Saweetie. Cool. Yeah. I don't know her, but she goes to Hawaii, and she posted this outfit on her Instagram, and I personally saw it on Twitter, and I just saw it hella blow up on Twitter with like a bunch of cultural appropriation like comments from Hawaiians and locals. So I'm like, I guess to give you guys a little bit of context, because this is like Hawaii,
clearly.
So this is the outfit that she wore. Is it okay if I open up a new tab?
Yeah, that's fine.
This is what a proper
I was just like, what if you pulled up a picture of Moana?
oh no. I mean, that's the
I'm just like, this is what you're proper. This is
This is it.
This is the actual traditional outfits for hula and how it's real, like they actually wear it. So
Not sexualized.
you mean like
yeah, so comparing
the
to
other one looks like a Halloween
Like,
costume.
Even just the grass skirt, the leaf skirt.
mm-hmm. Oh, where is it? So I guess comparing the two, then what do you guys think of her outfit now?
I don't know, like the vibe that the photo gives off. I mean, I can't assume because I don't know her intent behind it either.
Mhm.
But like just the first initial like vibe check I get off of it is like it reminds me of what Casey Musgraves did with like the aoyai without the pants. It's like they just think it's kind of sexy or like they're just trying to like, yeah, like the outfit. They just are kind of wearing it in like a this is kind of sexy and like kind of cool way, and not necessarily like acknowledging the culture behind it.
Mm-hmm. For me personally, I think like I understand the reason why like a lot of like Hawaiian natives and locals would get mad, because I mean, comparing from the first picture, like I mean, I think in general like this ideal of a hula dancer has been so like westernized or like sexualized almost too, even like especially like how her outfit is like
Those little hula dancing figurines.
yeah the figurines, that's the first thing you think of, right? Like coconut shells already with the grass skirts and like flowers everywhere.
Right.
But with hula and the outfit, it's again a little bit of context. The dance is supposed to be like a sacred dance for the native Hawaiians too, and because it's been like popularized as some form of entertainment, of course they would sexualize it into what she made it into now. And I mean, without a doubt, like when I seen, like, she does look very good, like the outfit and everything, but just like if it had like no context to it with a hula dancer, like she wore an outfit very well and everything, but again, it's very, very, like, in terms of cultural appropriation of like how, like, she's not really understanding the meaning of the outfit and what it represents.
Yeah, I think she just kind of just like, I look hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like she's just like, I look kind of hot. And I'm like,
It's really weird because I'm the kind of person who would like people to just wear whatever they want. Like, if you feel good in it, like, she is killing it. Like, she looks great. But it's like weird to like also feel this pressure to be on the side of like, no, you have to be upset about it, because if you're not upset about it, then you just aren't educated enough, or like you just don't understand. But like, yeah, I think it's just weird that like people are trying to like create that one like standardized ruler, like you stick it here and that's cultural appropriation versus not. But I think for everybody it's just really different, and I don't necessarily think that like we'll ever come to like a common ground with like every single person who identifies from a culture about like what is okay and what's not. I feel like it's all like very contextual and all very personal, and it's like, yeah, we'll never ever really agree with like everybody about it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that's her thing. Next one we have is Future John, cut this out. We have Nicki Minaj's Chun-Li music video and song. Yes.
I just felt like really like uncomfortable, like kind of just because like, you know, like it's something like I don't want to like cause like a fight over, because it's like, you know, with a lot of like cultural appropriation, I feel like you get to kind of pick and choose your battles. Like there's only so many times you can get mad at Kim Kardashian for doing something, like they're like really like at this point it's just like she's gonna do it again, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
what did she do again? I forgot. She did the kimono. She wore a kimono. That's right.
No, it was like the name of her brand, right?
Yeah. Or that's right. LOL. Anyway.
It's like, oh yeah. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? And then like you know, people have been mad at her because like she, you know, she made her skin a lot darker for her makeup brand and like stuff like that. So that's kind of like my general vibe with cultural appropriation. Like you kind of have to like pick and choose your battles and like choose what to put your energy in to get angry for. And like, so that's kind of how like, at least that's how I learned to accept it over the years. I like when I see it happen with like Nicki Minaj's like Chun-Li video. I didn't see a lot of I don't have a Twitter or Facebook, so I don't know if people got like super angry over it, or
I don't think they did.
I didn't hear much about it. When I first heard this song, when I listen to songs, I don't always listen to the words. So it took me a few times to listen to the song and then actually like listen to the lyrics. And when I heard them, she mentions a lot of things about chopsticks in her bun and something about Siamese, whatever, and she says that she's bringing Chinese back. And so I was like, what do you mean by you're bringing Chinese back? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, China's been here. Chinese people have been here. Chinese, like, culture has not been, like, going away. And, like, how are you bringing Chinese culture back? So then I thought of, let's look up the music video. And I looked up the music video, and then she's wearing, like, all kinds of Asian-like clothing.
Vaguely Asian.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, the vibe I get from videos and, like, a lot of the way, like, Asians are portrayed in, like, media is that we're just kind of, like, funny, dorky, like, little props. As in, like, oh, like samurais and, like, chopsticks in your hair, and we're just, like, kind of funny and, like, dorky for you to, like, use as to, like, enhance your aesthetic in the background.
Either that or, like, edgy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was weird to me how I don't think she really got a lot of backlash for this, because, like, I was like, that's kind of not even, like, subtle. Like, that's, like, totally... Yeah.
Like,
well, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm just, like, they're, like, Naruto-looking ass, like, you know, like, people in the background.
Yeah, it looks like Halloween.
And then there's, like, the rice patty hat.
Oh, yeah.
But they're, like, samurai. But that's clearly
like, what is
a rice
going
patty
on?
hat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hot mess.
And it's also sexualized.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, just to
Yeah.
put like cherry on the top of just
yeah. Like, Asian women already deal with enough, like, fetishization, or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, like,
There's
interesting.
also, like, Nicki Minaj herself didn't get backlash for appropriating Asian culture, but Jason Derulo also with his
Oh.
song Tiptoe and
Mhm.
oh.
I
the
guess.
Japanese look, right, with the cherry blossom trees in the back. He's really trying to show, like, oh, this is Japanese, right? And the geishas
Mhm.
and the clothing. But again, like, some of the women are dressed very sexualized because, like, you can
Yes.
see the whole front from the waist down.
I don't think fishnets are part of the
Yeah.
Right.
part of the look.
Yeah.
But on top of that, not all of the women are Asian.
It just rubs me wrong when, like, especially, like, men use, like, Asian women as props to, like, feel some kind of weird, like, fantasy, like,
Oh, yeah.
fetish, whatever the word
I have
is,
a hard time with the
kind
word
of
too.
narrative. Like, because I'm for, like, if women want to dress that way, it's fine. Like, it's liberating. If they choose to personally, like, dress that way, it's fine. But, like, in a video like this, it kind of gives the vibe that it's, like, in service to the main
Yeah.
character, which is the male, Jason Derulo. And I just don't like that kind of narrative.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, in that same music video, he also has women dressed up in some kind of tribal looking clothing, right? From like groups that live in jungles. And so they're crawling around him, and in the other parts of the music video they're dressed in like some kind of animal print and stuff. So again, it's using different cultures to almost show like, oh, they're animalistic and they're so wild, but they're also sexualizing it, and like, oh, these women are serving me, almost is what it looks like in like a sexual way, because they like grab onto his body and they crawl around him.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I just laugh when I watch it if I ever see it.
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't
mess.
like, this is not like listed on the like examples before, but it just remind me of like Karlie Kloss. Do you guys remember
Oh,
this?
yeah,
But
yeah.
like, yeah, but she was like, she got like, I think it was like a huge spread in Vogue, and then she was like, and then she was being like what is it? It's like the same like weird like Japanese aesthetics or whatever, you know. And then she was wearing like kimono, and then like someone commented like, if you wanted like a huge spread for like,
Yeah.
you know, Asian aesthetics, you could have at least hired an Asian
Right.
model.
Yeah.
I don't get
but-
how this like passes the conference room where they're like, what kind of vibe are we gonna go for Karlie Kloss's spread? And someone just says Asian. Like, I don't get how that's like a vibe or like an aesthetic that like a magazine or like a music video, like that's the vibe. It's like not like beach themed or like we're gonna go film in New York City. It's like, no, it's just Asian. Like, what does that
Asian's
even
seen as a
mean?
theme.
Right, like how is that a theme? Like how does that pass? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand. I know I was gonna say something, but then I forgot. But
It's
I
okay.
agree with
It'll
you.
be like
You've
that
done nothing
sometimes.
wrong ever, Dianna. Ever in your life.
That's the same thing with like Hawaiian is also seen as a theme, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
party, oh, what kind of party should we have?
Hawaiian
Hawaiian party, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So
Just throw a bunch of tikis everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the like alt-right like white supremacists like protesting and use like the tiki torches from Party
God.
City.
From parties.
Oh my gosh.
I feel
Yeah.
like this mic is way too
It's
close
like
to my mouth.
you've got like with this topic, like you've got to just like pick and choose like where you want your energy to be.
Yeah.
It's really hard to like draw the line.
yeah.
Cool. What do we have next? Oh, what is this? I've never heard this one. Iggy Azalea's Bounce Song.
I've never heard of it either.
Never heard of
but-
it either.
I've never heard of it. I'm sorry, Andrea.
Sorry.
It's okay. If you just watch the
Are we trying to watch it right
video-
now?
No. But I don't. It's not shown if she's appreciating the culture or if she's like, she doesn't make it clear. But the fact that she's wearing like the whole outfit and everything, and the fact that she's dressed up as the main person, right? Because like all of the other women in the music video are dressed in a more casual way
Yeah.
with the clothing, versus she's like all decked out, and it looks like she's wearing something that would be worn to like a wedding, as she's like the bride or something, you know. And she even has the bindi on her forehead, and she has the jewelry on her head, and she has all the jewelry on her neck, her arms, you know.
Right.
So it's like, she's trying to make herself seem as the most important person in this culture. She also has another part where she's riding on top of an elephant, which we don't agree with riding elephants, but
we stop that.
she's decked out even more. And in that one, she almost looks like she's a goddess or something. Right. So again, it's like, are you appreciating because you have all these other Southeast Asian women with you in the music video, but you're still making yourself look like the biggest one? Right. And then
it's like she's doing the same thing that Jason Derulo did. Like she's like using people who like actually identify with this culture as like props and like service.
Except
to
for
her
Jason
own,
Derulo didn't even.
Yeah, in her own narrative where like, she's the star.
Yeah. Who do you think gets like the quote unquote, I guess like, blame for this? You know what I mean? Because I feel like, because like you said earlier, it just reminded me of like, you know, passing around the conference room, like, yeah, this looks vaguely Asian. It's great. You know, like, like, you know, like many people approved of like certain things to happen, to be like, you know what I mean? And then, but then the celebrity at the time or whatever, it gets like kind of like the front of it or like the blame of it. And it's just kind of just like, who do you like assign it to the point where it's
blame
like
Jonathan.
Dang it.
Plus, I feel like especially within like, if this conference room, I feel like is the majority of like white people, honestly. So again, you have like a very, very limited perception, and like everybody's just basically agreeing with each other, like, oh yeah, I guess that's fine. I mean, I don't know any better. I mean, he can't say anything about it because, you know,
the Asian intern is just sweating. Like, they're just sweating. Right. They're just like, do I say something? It's way too late.
Thinking about like their conversation in that conference room, I'm like kind of mad. It's like a little bit insulting that like all these like higher up, like probably like white men are like, yeah, Asian people are pretty much just like props and like aesthetic, just like stick them in there for our music videos vibe. Yeah, and like all these people agreed about it. But then it's just like,
I feel like if you try to like talk about it, then it turns into just like we're being too PC. You know what I mean nowadays? And then like you can't do anything anymore. You know, kind of response, which is like I don't know how to respond to it, but you can feel the way you feel, I guess.
I mean, I guess in terms of like they do this intentionally to get people talking about it, you know. I feel like a lot of controversies are like that nowadays, like people make up stories just so that people can talk about them or they become relevant again in media. But yeah, it's interesting. Next one, I think this one's a little bit of a switcher upper. So I guess now it's more on the Asian side doing cultural appropriation. So we have J-Hope. Oh my God.
Get attacked by the BTS army.
I'm so nervous right now. I'm going to get roasted. Okay.
Oh, this is scary. We're talking about J-Hope and BTS. We're about to get roasted.
I guess I can say this, like, I don't like BTS.
Oh, you're going to get attacked.
Not even like, I don't like... Like, they just randomly have popped up in my life, and I really don't care about them.
It's okay, I'm not crazy about them. My opinion about them in public.
There's going to be comments down below. You didn't get any BTS fans represented for your example.
Full disclosure, Army, this is...
come at us.
Come anyways.
No, but actually, so with this post... that J-Hope made, apparently he did kind of get a lot of backlash from Army, and then they
wow, good job, Army.
So they actually called him out about like cultural appropriation because he is wearing dreads and his hairstyles like that. And I feel like there's been a lot of other K-pop artists that did the same thing too, but of course since he is like from BTS and they're like super big, like he like got the most news from it. But yeah, so it's interesting. So he did end up apologizing and posting.
Did he have a reasoning as to why he had the dreadlocks?
In all honesty, I feel like it's the producers that wanted him to wear that. I feel like they all set up like their outfits and the way they dress, and so.
I mean, it could be.
I also.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I also feel like it's like a lot of, like, I feel like, I don't know if this is a wrong statement, but I feel like R&B and hip-hop is kind of dominating music right now. And I feel like with that comes a lot of people, like, acting black or, like, wanting to act like a certain way that
That is
like
true.
yeah, so I feel like that might be where it's
Mhm.
coming from, where they're like, oh, like what's really cool right now is like R&B and hip hop, and then they try to take from that without realizing that there's a lot of context to that makes it not okay to do things like that.
Mhm.
There's a Chinese hip hop group, Higher Brothers, who, congratulations, has been the first like actual hip hop like group and artist to be able to put their music out into the US and even go to visit the US. But 88 Rising had helped them to do that, and they were so infatuated with hip hop and lots of artists from the US. I don't know the names of the people, so I'm just gonna like, one of them said that he was really big on the artist Biggie. One of them said that he was really big on all of them had their own artists, African American hip hop artists that they loved so much and idolized. And a couple of them had tattoos that were inspired by them, and they wore clothes inspired by them in the hip hop culture and stuff. But also one of them specifically had braids and dreads in different occasions. And so in that case, for them, would you think that it's more cultural appropriation or cultural appreciation, because they just loved these artists and hip hop so much? And they always talked about them. They said, they inspired me with this and they motivated me with that, and their music, So in that case, do you think that it was just they're not educated enough on the topic of cultural appropriation, or do you think that they're just like they love this person so much that they're appreciating them, or they're taking it too far where they want to become this person?
I think that that's really hard too, because again, you can't really define. It's hard to define that line again between appropriation and appreciation, especially on the fact that, like, because like the music almost represents like a culture too, and if you're so embedded into that culture and you've grown up with it, it's hard to say that you're not part of it, you know, and like it's again difficult. Okay. I think that's pretty much all we have for it. Again, if you guys have any of your own opinions or have your things to say or share on like the examples or topics we talked about, if you're watching this on YouTube, just comment them down below. Let us know what you guys think and what your idea is on this whole concept of cultural appropriation and how us as a society is taking it nowadays. So I will see you guys again.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Let it be acknowledged that Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon is located within the traditional homelands of the Marys River or Ampinafu Band of Kalapuya.
Following the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855, Kalapuya people were forcibly removed to reservations in western Oregon.
Today, living descendants of these people are a part of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederate Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The host of this podcast includes paid student employees from the Asian and Pacific Cultural Center. However, all views expressed in this podcast are solely of those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent the opinions of the Asian and Pacific Cultural Center or Oregon State University. This podcast was not subject to prior review or approval of professional staff.